Alrighty, welcome everybody to the Fox7 channel, and let's get into using ICC for our higher time frame biases. So if you're using the Fox7 indicator, as you've seen in the previous videos, we can use session time-based draws of liquidity. So that's your Asian highs, Asian lows, New York previous session high and lows, 15-minute unmitigated gaps and all that kind of stuff. But what I have personally been doing for the last few months now is switching over to ICC for the main levels. One, because it's a lot more simple and doesn't rely on when London low gets taken, do we immediately assume that London high, if it wasn't taken during New York session, is going to be where price wants to go? The higher time frame is always going to give the biggest bias, in my opinion. So when it comes to using the Fox7 indicator, if you're basing it on these levels, then it just strips away all of the unnecessary noise, because you could even just trade this without any indicator, which is the beauty of using the higher time frame. So let's just pretend, and we're in 2021. So this is basically how I choose to mark up my levels. Now, when we eventually get to current day, there's going to be levels that have come into play from previous days, but say this is your first time doing it, or you like to keep a clean chart every day, then this is how I would go about using my levels. So if we haven't already taken a trade during this New York session, which is what this gold bar represents, these are all New York sessions. We'll just verify that by going on the symbol. So we're in New York. I'm based in the UK, so for me this would be 2 p.m. in the afternoon up until about 10 p.m. at night. But what I like to do is adjust levels after market close, because I would have already had previous levels made to take a trade based on when I'm going to enter a New York session, which is preferred for when trading US based products. So NQ, US 30, the S&P, which is ES, and so on. And then if we're doing gold, since gold moves pretty much kind of well all throughout the day, London session specifically and New York typically give good entry points. And then the other caveat to that is if there's like red folder news for the USD, which you can find on Forex Factory, then what I've seen is price will pump or dump, basically just move strongly in one direction, just because all of the traders are getting in before possibly getting taken out when it comes to actually the news dropping in the NY session. So specifically gold, you can end up finding the moves happening in Asia session and London. And the same with NQ, like NQ moves quite nicely during London if there's red news coming in the afternoon for the NY session. So then how we do the markups is kind of simple in comparison to doing like draws of liquidity. All we're tracking basically is our like swing highs and swing lows, because essentially if one of them breaks, then it means that that side of the market is no longer in control. So to demonstrate this, we're just going to use our simple rectangle tool, and we're going to notice that price is pushed up clearly from this general area and has stopped at this area. So this would be the first thing that we're looking at, especially at the end of market, where we're like, okay, price has stopped here. Then we'll be like looking to the left and be thinking, what made this move in the first place. So we can mark out this swing low here that typically lines up. When I draw the boxes, it's normally covering the wicks on the hourly swings as well. So we can just say that this is our swing low. And since this is a little bit higher, we could also mark this out. It doesn't really matter since these are like close by. So we'll just go by this for now, since we're trying to use like the most recent price action. With ICC, you can use the same levels again and again, and sometimes the levels won't come into play until much later. But if you want to just keep it simple, you can just use like 2 days worth of data or just the previous session. Because what we'll do once we've marked up these general areas is we can always look left to see more detail, especially if we're in an uptrend or a downtrend. So we can just simply look and clearly see that we're in an uptrend. So once we've done that, we're coming into Asia session when the market reopens. And again, it's up to you if you take trades, but since we're using the hourly, it's going to be the strongest indications of where price is going to go. So now that we've marked the swing points, here and here, all we're doing now is waiting for one to break. And why I don't like trading Asia session in London is because that's going to give us information of what price actually wants to do. And as well as like New York session when it kicks in to give even more confirmation for the next day. So anything that happens in between this zone, we're not going to trade it unless you have like another model to trade.